All right, we are live. Welcome. This is Orion Rising. I am your host, Leonard O'Neill. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good morrow, depending on where in the world you are tuning into this show. Okay, show this out, show this out, show this out. It is 8 a.m. New South Wales, Australia time. It's 3 p.m. West Coast America time. That is GMT -7. So that means what? You should know, or you don't know. Figure it out. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good morrow, depending on wherever in the world you are tuning into the show. Okay, so we're back today. Let me take this overlay down. I got the overlay up. I wasn't taking it down. Overlay up. Put myself up in full screen here. Welcome, everybody. Okay, so we're back to do the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth. We are on chapter 4, the Spaceborn, which is going to be really fun. But before I start, I wanted to talk about today is Saturday here in Australia, tomorrow, Sunday in Australia, where Brooke and I are going to an event. Let me put a banner up on the screen. Wait, let me put a picture up on the screen here. Brooke and I are going to be at an event over here in New South Wales, Australia, at Merlin and Maeve, our newly formed company that is, as you can see with the picture there, Merlin and Maeve are myself and Brooke, my wife. We are going to be at a place over here. Let me put it up on the screen. Mystic Moon Markets this Sunday. That's tomorrow if you're in Australia. Sunday, 21st of September, Central Coast Leagues Club, One Dane Drive in Gosford, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. You guys may want to come and take a look. There's all kinds of stuff. I didn't have time to put that photo up. There's all kinds of stuff on here. Let's see if I did. I think I did not. I didn't have time. I apologize for that. I didn't have time to put that information up. I was going to put the Mystic Moon stuff up for everybody. Reese, welcome. There's my wife, Brooke. Tag those people. Get them in here. Thank you, baby. So we're going to be at this place in Gosford. So if you're in New South Wales and you can make it to Gosford tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., we will be doing Reiki. We will have a booth and Brooke will be doing Reiki and I will be assisting her. I will also be sitting there. As you can see, I have a book over here. Whoop, other side right there in the background. I will be bringing books to the event to sell to people and sign them for them. So if you guys want to show up to that, we do have a limited amount. We have 5 hardback, hardcover books and 9 softback. We had 10, but we already have an order for 1 that I'm aware of. That wants to pay for it. What we're going to do is, instead of you having to pay the full price for the book plus me to sign it, if you buy a book and you're in Australia and you buy a book and have it shipped to you, the hardcover is $80. If you show up at the Gosford Mystic Moon Market between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. tomorrow, September 21st, you can purchase one directly from me with my signature on it. I will sign it for you, whatever you want me to sign in there, in your presence. And instead of being $80, we're going to give it to you for $60. So that's actually a $100 value if you're going to buy the book and then have me sign it. If you get a soft cover book, we're going to charge you $30, which is I think it's $30. Don't quote me on that one. I have to ask my wife. I believe $30, which is what it would cost you to buy the book itself. So you're getting my signature basically for free by showing up and buying the book there. So while supplies last, we will have those books. We have a limited number of books because that's what I have left in my possession right now until I buy some more. So you guys might want to show up and take a look at this. I am going to be at noon, 12 o'clock noon, New South Wales time. I will be on the little impromptu center stage, and I will be channeling Thoth the Atlantean. Unless I'm requested to channel possibly one other person, maybe. Maybe we'll see about that. But it might be Archangel Samael. So it depends on the request. I'm getting an argument from both of them trying to come through, but I believe it's going to be Thoth the Atlantean, but don't quote me. The way things are going right now, they're kind of vying for who's going to be center stage for, I believe I get an hour, so from 12 noon to 1. We will go live, and we're going to try and go live from the event. We'll set up this camera and see if we can get a signal. If we do have a signal, we're going to go live. If not, we will record it. Brooke will record it, and we will post it after the show, so you guys will be able to see some of that event live on air. Okay, let me take down these banners here, right? And we will get into where's the other one here? I've got the wrong page over here. There we go. Okay, so Thoth the Atlantean. So we're going to do the Emerald Tablets of Thoth right now. Let me look over here. I see some of you guys are saying things. That's Brooke, and she's tagging more people to get them in here. Okay, so show this out, show this out, show this out. I've already shared it out about 3 or 4 places. Share this out, and I got the sun still trying to pierce my noggin right here. Let me see if I can bang right in the eyes. Okay, so for those of you who are listening around the world, I just realized that I accidentally clicked on that when I was trying to turn off that other banner. I apologize to my wife for clicking on what she has here, because I went to the wrong place, and now I have the banner back up again. There we go. I was clicking on everybody's banner here, trying to, in comments, trying to take the banner down, because I wasn't paying attention, because I was getting shot in the eyeball from the sun. So, yeah, come over there tomorrow. We're going to be there from 10 a.m. till 5 p.m., and we will have a Reiki booth. I will also be answering questions in the interim in between. So I will be talking, and I can answer psychic questions. I can answer spiritual questions. Chandra, welcome. At the same time, we're also going to be putting up some jars, so that, and some little tablets that you guys can write questions for me if you show up there, even if you can't stay, or if you if you're going to be in the audience and you want to get a question in. We will we're going to have areas, at least on our table, and maybe a couple of other areas where you guys can write a question, write your name, write the question, tear it off, put it in the thing. We're going to tally those, and Brooke will read those. We will also, when we are live on YouTube and Facebook, we will be taking questions from you guys. So if you guys tune in around the world on Facebook or YouTube, when we go live at noon, 12 o'clock New South Wales time, which is 4 hours from now. So if it's 3 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States, it'll be 7 p.m. Tomorrow, 7 p.m. in the or West Coast. Sorry, 7 p.m. on the West Coast of the United States. So that's 10 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States tomorrow. It will be our tomorrow, but today is your Friday, so it will be your Saturday, and it'll be our Sunday. But we will be live, and Brooke will be monitoring the chat. So if you guys have questions for me or for Thoth at that time, noon New South Wales time, that's 7 p.m. West Coast America time. If you guys have questions, she will be reading those questions if we have time. Hopefully we'll be able to read those. She'll be reading those, asking those questions to me from you guys directly. So you guys will get to be part of the event while I'm channeling. So tune in tomorrow. Fiona, welcome. Tune in tomorrow, and it will be really cool. Hopefully we have a good signal, and we'll be able to get that out to you guys live. Okay. So before we get any crazier here, let me go ahead and do a sound check, and we'll get into. Let me pull myself out of full screen there and pull this up into full screen over here. And we are on chapter 4 of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, and this is the Spaceborn. So let me go ahead and start this. We'll do a sound check. You guys let me know if you can hear it okay, and we'll get going without any further ado.
Emerald Tablet 4, the Spaceborn. List ye, O man, to the voice of wisdom. List to the voice of Thoth the Atlantean. Freely I give to thee of my wisdom, gathered from the time and space of this cycle, master of mysteries, son of the morning, living forever, a child of the light, shining with brightness, star of the morning. Thoth, the teacher of men, is of all. Long time ago, I, in my childhood, lay 'neath the stars on long buried Atlantis, dreaming of mysteries far above men. Then in my heart grew there a great longing to conquer the pathway that led to the stars. Year after year, I sought after wisdom, seeking new knowledge, following the way, until at last my soul, in great travail, broke from its bondage and bounded away. Free was I from the bondage of earthmen. Free from the body, I flashed through the night. Unlocked at last for me was the star space. Free was I from the bondage of night. Now to the end of space sought I wisdom, far beyond knowledge of finite man. Far into space my soul traveled freely, into infinity's circle of light. Strange beyond knowledge were some of the planets, great and gigantic, beyond dreams of men. Yet found I law in all of its beauty, working through and among them as here among men.
Okay, so here you see Thoth telling you the story of thousands of years ago. We're not exactly sure of the exact time. We have a pretty good idea, but history thinks it was only about 4,000 years ago, and it was farther back than that by a long shot. They kind of say, oh, maybe it was 12,000 years ago. If you listen to the Egyptians and if you listen to Hermes, when they were talking about it, Hermes was far further back than that. So it looks like it was at least 70,000 years ago. However, people, that's subjective. A lot of people don't want to admit that. However, if you look at this, if you could ask Thoth tomorrow if you like, since I'll be channeling Thoth. But if you look at this, this is the story that Thoth is telling you about his own journey and his journey when he was a human here on Earth at Atlantis, his journey of enlightenment and piercing the veil and becoming awake, and then freeing himself from the body, leaving the human body and going on his journey. And some people see this and have this journey and still are connected to the body. A lot of people doing ayahuasca, DMT, psilocybin, things like that, like mushrooms and blue lotus, peyote, and the like, have these vision quests, these journeys, and they end up doing the same thing of what you're seeing here. They free themselves from their body, free themselves from the night, from the darkness of night. That's the veil. You have to remember that the term that was used back then was, they didn't use the term the veil as much. They called it the veil of night sometimes, or the veil of darkness. But it was the veil that we talk about now, when not being able to know and remember who you are. And you can see that he was free from the bondage of earthmen, meaning he was no longer in his body, out of body, free from the body, he says right there. So then he goes on a journey and he starts heading towards the center of the universe. He's far into space. My soul traveled freely into infinity's circle of light, right? So you see that this is the journey that all of us do take at some point. And it sometimes it happens with, assistance from a psilocybin. And Mandy Wilson, how are you doing? There's Mandy Wilson, the curator and controller of Ancient Aliens Worldwide, who runs that entire 300,000 person network of Ancient Aliens Worldwide. Welcome, 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 welcome. So there's the journey. Mandy, we haven't talked for a while, huh? We kind of caught up. She knows what's going on, right? So there's the journey. So the beginning of the journey. This is why he starts talking about spaceborne. You're going to see as we go, okay? Free from the body, moving towards the center of the universe, right? And he says, I found I law in all of its beauty, right? So there is a law in the universe. Okay, so if you remember, I've covered the law of one, talking about the laws that govern the universe and the creator of the universe. Let's continue, okay?
Flashed forth my soul through infinity's beauty. Far through space I flew with my thoughts. Rested I there on a planet of beauty. Strains of harmony filled all the air. Shapes there were, moving in order, great and majestic as stars in the night. Mounting in harmony, ordered equilibrium, symbols of the cosmic, like unto law. Many the stars I passed in my journey, many the races of men on their worlds, some reaching high as stars of the morning, some falling low in the blackness of night. Each and all of them struggling upward, gaining the heights and plumbing the depths, moving at times in realms of brightness, living through darkness, gaining the light. Know, O man, that light is thine heritage. Know that darkness is only a veil.
See, now here's where he's explaining this. So here we have another book that some would try to claim that was written in 1929, because that was when they discovered it. So because of that, people around the world are saying, no, that wasn't real. That didn't happen, right? That wasn't real. That was just created in 1929. Well, the same thing was said. Let me put myself up on full screen here so you guys can see me. The same thing was said from secularists about everyone. When people start talking about Jesus, they say, well, there is no definitive proof. We believe that the Romans invented Jesus to control the Jewish people that were starting this new religion. And they do that about everything. Every person, they say that. They even say that about religion. All religions are fake, and they were just created for control. Now they're saying that they were all created by the Anunnaki, quote unquote, that the Anunnaki created all religions on Earth throughout all of time. Weirdly, because there was religions on Earth before the Anunnaki got here that were saying the exact same thing that all these religions were saying, but I digress. It's kind of weird when you think about that. So they created all the religions and they weren't even here, and the religions were there, and then they came down here and created all these other religions exactly the way the religions were there. But never mind that, because they don't want you to know that, because they created these religions just so that there would be a control mechanism and make you think that there was something that you can do. And then when your soul leaves, they capture you with these machines that are up there, and they knock out your soul, because they can do that. They can knock out your immortal soul and then erase your immortal soul's memory and put you back into the body, because they have machines that can do that are up there, but you can't see them because they're cloaked and they're hidden, but they're there. That's kind of like the same thing that the people who are flat earthers keep telling you about the firmament, yet no one can go there and film it. Well, because you can't. Well, then how do you know it's there? Because some dude back in the 1700s went there once. Same thing with the Anunnaki. Well, because some dude went there once. Really? So where's the pictures? Can't do that. Can't see them. It's all fit. It's all just, smoke and mirrors up there, so you can't see anything. So then where the stories come from, I wonder, right? So here you see Thoth talking about this release, and this is a scroll that dates back to a minimum of 12,000 years ago. So here we have a scroll that according to even the very people and the scholars, they say the Enuma Elish is the oldest scroll known to mankind, but the people there who have translated it say that the Mesopotamian people say that it came from Arcadia. That would be now we're talking about Hermes Trismegistus in that time when Hermes, the Greek, was there. Some people say that Hermes was in fact an Egyptian. So when the Greeks, when you go to the Greek scholars, where did this scroll come from that they acclaim to you guys from 1100 years earlier? So now we're going backwards in time more. Now we're about 6,500 years ago. They say it came from Egypt. So when you go to the Egyptians, they say we don't own that. We don't own that scroll. That scroll came from further back than that. That wasn't ours. It's from a civilization that lived here prior to us. And when you ask the Egyptians, how far back does that go? That goes back to pre-dynastic era. That means more than 60,000 years ago by their estimates. And we know that there is a world global empire that was here just like this one that we have now. that ended 77,000 years ago. And that dates back to at least 130,000 years ago, which is exactly what Robert Schoch said, that the Sphinx at the Pyramid of Giza complex in Egypt, that dates back to somewhere around 128,000 years ago. Okay, so we have some sort of corroborations about a timeline, and we now know that like Angkor Wat and a few other places, Sacsayhuaman, a few other places around the globe are 77,000 years old at least, and might be older than that. So that we realize now that there was this societal structure that fell, and we are what's the remnants of that repopulating the earth. We know this definitively because of the out of Africa theory, when the Australians over here, Stephen and Evan Strong and the scientists over here, started looking at the possibility that life originated in Australia. So they started their out of Australia theory. They started looking at the DNA of people all around the world. And that's when they started realizing some people don't have any African DNA. No monkey, no African DNA. How is that possible? That means that life didn't start in Africa. So they looked at that and they started realizing that life went back farther than we thought on this earth. And that there's some people that survived that catastrophe of 77,000 years ago. People in Norway, people in Madagascar, South Africa, and people in Australia survived that 77,000 years ago. So pockets of people living on this earth, that DNA dates back pre-77,000 years ago, not 5,000 years ago, not 10,000 years ago, 77,000 years ago. Humans were here, and they were not wearing loincloths and an IQ of 50. They had a civilization that we have found their structures, and we're uncovering their structures today. Okay, so one of the tablets, one of the scrolls, and we're finding many more, date back to approximately that time, but we don't know for certain yet. And academia doesn't want to expand their consciousness yet. So the Thoth the Atlantean and the Emerald Tablets of Thoth is still thought to be Atlantis, but they don't know when Atlantis fell. So they keep going, well, it might have been 1,000 years ago. The Romans knew about it, but the Romans never said that they were there. Some of them said, because even with the Romans who did talk about it, they were told about it by somebody else. So we're going from 5,000 years ago to maybe 6,000 years ago when the last people saw someone from Atlantis. So at the very minimum, if Thoth only existed at the end of Atlantis, it's very possible that Atlantis didn't sink 1,500 years ago. It didn't sink during the deluge, which would have been around 4,000 years ago or so. It didn't sink then with Noah. It was before that. It may have been with Noah, and if it wasn't, then when was it? It was before that. So we see that there's societal structures that date back 10,000 years with cave drawings alone. Even further back here in Australia, they have cave drawings here in Australia that I've posted before in many different places. And Mandy Wilson, if she's still in the audience, she has pictures of those on Ancient Aliens Worldwide, where they posted cave drawings that they think are of aliens, but even if they're not, they're cave drawings from more than 30,000 years ago here in Australia. Some date back to 100,000 years ago, giving proof, whether you like it or not, that humans lived on this earth for more than 100,000 years, and they were sophisticated enough to be drawing words in caves and pictures in caves, not just cavemen that didn't know how to do anything besides, well, spray paint their hand or something. It was a sophisticated language, and I've posted about that, the different pictures where the scientists have looked at and found the same cave drawings all over the entire planet, dating back 70,000 years, which means that people were drawing in caves the language that was a language that people spoke everywhere on this earth. And they understood the symbology of that language because they were all drawing it. Either that or one guy traveled around the world to 77 caves, at least 77 caves, I think they said, maybe even more, on the whole planet. So there was either some dude who made, any traveler, Leif Erikson or Christopher Columbus, look like he was a rookie who only walked across the street, or there was a language here that was sophisticated that looks like it was something that people were leaving behind after some cataclysmic event. Okay, and that's what it looks like. So we don't know exactly when Thoth was alive, but we do know that this information wasn't just invented in 1929, because the information in and of itself that is being talked about is throughout all of spirituality, and not just that, but all of philosophical thought from all the prophets and all of the philosophers around the earth, unless they were just third dimensional philosophers and saying, different things, not pondering anything in a spiritual sense. Okay, so here we have Thoth talking about leaving. Well, let me pull that back up in full screen over here. The Thoth talking about leaving his body and becoming immortal, or at the very least having a event where he is journeying to the center of the universe through either his own accord, or who knows, maybe a psilocybin or something, ate a mushroom or a blue lotus or something, but he doesn't say that. But he found himself, because of chapter 3, he found himself while meditating, taken to the halls of Amente and given the opening of the veil, and being told, the master veiler being told to unveil him. And now you see that he became unveiled and left his body and astral projected, at the very least, and quite possibly ascended at this point. Let's continue.
Sealed in thy heart is brightness eternal, waiting the moment of freedom to conquer, waiting to rend the veil of the night. Some I found who had conquered the ether, free of space were they, while yet they were men. Using the force that is the foundation of all things, far in space constructed they a planet.
Okay, so I wanted to stop there because this is kind of important. Using the force. Do you see that? Free from space were they while they were men, right? Some I found who had conquered the ether. Free from space were they while yet they were men. Using the force that is the foundation of all things. Right there you see that word, the force, like in the Star Wars, right? In the Star Wars saga of May the Force be with you. So that wasn't something that was just invented by Lucas. There was references to this force that is the all, that is the beyond the ether, because you see him saying here beyond the ether. Ether is what they called the space, and the Greeks called the basically the tree of life, the ether. Okay, so the tree of life, meaning this cosmic web that we have now discovered in the universe. Beyond that even is a force. Okay, and that is what binds everything. The energy of Yggdrasil, the energy of the tree of life, is the force. So here's a reference to that was created before. So did Lucas borrow that? Did he read the Emerald Tablets and find that one word, the force, and borrow that from all of this in chapter 4 here for his thing? It's very possible, but it's not the only reference throughout philosophical and spiritual referencing. Because you hear the ether, and that's very Greek with the ether. The word ether is very Greek. We still use it to this day, Greek and Latin. We still use it to this day. A lot more in science than we do in normal conversation. But force, right? May the force be with you. Let's move.
Drawn by the force that flows through the all, condensing, coalescing the ether into forms that grew as they willed. Outstripping in science, they, all of the races, mighty in wisdom, sons of the stars. Long time I paused, watching their wisdom, saw them create, from out of the ether, cities gigantic of rose and gold. Formed forth, from the primal element, base of all matter, the ether far flung. Far in the past, they had conquered the ether, freed themselves from the bondage of toil. Formed in their mind only a picture, and swiftly created, it grew. Forth then my soul sped throughout the cosmos, seeing ever new things and old, learning that man is truly spaceborn, a son of the sun, a child of the stars.
Okay, so here we are, a son of the sun. Now, what is that reference to, right? The son of the sun. That truly man is spaceborn. So here again is a reference that we humans here on Earth did not originate here. Okay, so this is at least 1929 if it was invented in 1929. I know that it wasn't invented in 1929, but this would tell you. So this is a great reference that the ancient aliens people would love to get a hold of and use and say, see, here's where we were obviously created by somebody else and brought to Earth. And they always go default to the 3D, three-dimensional, third dimension, and say it must have been an alien spacecraft that came here and created everybody. Because that's very secular, and that's why it's allowed to continue, because they never talk about God, the creator of the universe, or spirituality. They're fully, wholly, solely focused on third dimension. That's why that's how they make their money. They are so much so that they refuse to talk about anything spiritual. Unless they just go, maybe God was an alien, and they bring it back to 3D. That's all they do with that program. That's why so many of the people who were involved in the ancient aliens in 2017 started filtering away from them and moving into the spiritual because of that, because they refused. And the draconian, Disney now owns History Channel, right? So the draconian ideology of the secularists will not allow them to say that any of it is God, because they don't make any money off of it, and it doesn't prove their narrative. So as long as Giorgio Tsoukalos and everybody just keeps referring in the 3D to aliens and saying aliens, 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 then they're allowed to continue talking that everything was aliens, your alien origin. We are aliens, ancient aliens. There were aliens come over here. So anybody in the industry, if you watch them when they first start out, if they start talking spiritual, they don't get anywhere. The second they start talking conspiracy, deep state, and aliens, then they're all of a sudden they have people that are backing them, paying money for their show. They all of a sudden start making money, and they start going all over the networks. They start going through the gambit. They end up on Joe Rogan, because Joe Rogan is a little bit further out there, and we'll talk about spirituality, but not really. Not really. He only touches on it barely. Every now and then he'll say his mind, but the truth is he's talking in 3D as well. That's where the money's made. That's where they go. So they just run down that path of 3D reality and aliens, because it sells. People are buying it. People are watching it, and you can make a lot of money at it. So they just run down that road, and the longer you just talk about aliens, the more money that you'll make. I could be rich right now if I wanted to. I'd just shut up about spirituality, stop teaching you guys the reality about reality, and just start talking about conspiracy theories and aliens, and I'd probably have $1 billion in the bank. Speaking of that, let's go ahead and pay the bills and run an ad for my book, which you can, if you're in New South Wales on Sunday in Gosford, you can come out and buy a copy of it and have me sign it for less than the price of buying the book and having me sign it ordinarily.
What is the reality about reality? Returning to the Old Ways. It is a comprehensive book about what is really going on here on this planet. It talks about the true spirituality that the controllers who think they own this planet have been keeping from you for thousands of years. It explains to you the knowledge that you gain from the universe itself when you live the way the prophets of the world throughout time told us how to live. Eat right, meditate, take care of yourself, treat others right. All the things they originally told us to do, but the controllers have removed from right in front of our eyes. The way to ascend to heaven. The reality about reality. Returning to the Old Ways. On sale worldwide, online now.
Okay. All right. So let me put this up there. Chandra said, yes, DMT is so out of body and amazing visually. Truly feels like you're being shot into space. Okay. So Let me do that ad again, and I want to make a correction. Let me put this up on the screen. I want to make a correction because I said $30. It's $40, $60 for a hardcover, and $40. I asked my wife came in and told me to correct that. I apologize. I knew it was something like that. That's why I said I'm not sure. I'll have to ask my wife. So if you guys can, if you guys are in New South Wales tomorrow, September 21st, Central Coast League Club, 1 Dane Drive, Gosford, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Brooke and I will be there, Merlin and Maeve. We will be there. Brooke will be doing Reiki. I will be assisting her with that, but I will also be there to answer questions, spiritual questions from anybody that would like to. I'll also be there with my books. We have 5 copies of the hardcover, and we have 9 copies of the soft cover available. And if you were to buy one here in Australia and have it shipped to you, it would be $80 Australian to get that sent to you. So, and then if you want me to sign it, I would charge you money for signing that unless we're at a book signing. If you have a copy of the book already and you want to have me sign it, bring it down. I will sign it for you. But if you don't have a book and you want to pick up a book, $60 for the hardcover with my signature as well, and $40 for the soft cover. I wasn't sure of the price. Good thing that my wife told me that. So if you guys are anywhere in New South Wales, you want to come out and see me channel Thoth the Atlantean tomorrow and ask questions or just talk to me. But you can pick up a copy of my book right there on the screen. For those of you around the world listening on the MP3 broadcast, by the time you hear this, it'll probably be past that date. But you can try if you're here in Australia. I'm going to get this up as soon as possible, so you should be able to listen to it before tomorrow. Let me take these banners down here. And I closed my banner window instead of taking the banner down. I apologize for that. Okay, so let's go back to in full screen here and continue with Thoth the Atlantean, Chapter 4, The Spaceborne. So we're looking at literally the force out of body, Thoth being out of body, and talking about his witnessing his experience of what he was seeing as he was moving through the cosmos, right? As he says, right? Formed in their mind, right? So he's talking about he saw them. Where was he here? That all things far into space constructed a planet drawn by the force that flows through the all. So he's witnessing the entities that are the above. They're not physical, so it's not aliens doing this, because they are in fact spirits creating, co-creators, creating from a level that is not the God energy, the Godhead, but it is just below the Godhead. So the God created like the Nephilim and other archangels and things, and gave them the power. So you have the Logos and a sub-Logos and a sub-sub-Logos. So we're looking at from the Logos, at least a sub-Logos. I'm not sure exactly if that's the first sub-Logos or below that, but he's witnessing the creation of planets and cities. Okay? And he's witnessing this happening by entities that are immortal spirits, light, energy, that are not the creator itself, but below the creator.
Know ye, O man, whatever from ye inhabit, surely it is one with the stars. Thy bodies are nothing but planets revolving around their central suns. When ye have gained the light of all wisdom, free shall ye be to shine in the ether, one of the suns that light outer darkness, one of the space-born grown into light. Just as the stars in time lose their brilliance, light passing from them into the great source, so, O man, the soul passes onward, leaving behind the darkness of night. Formed forth ye from the primal ether, filled with the brilliance that flows from the source. Bound by the ether coalesced around, yet ever it flames until, at last, it is free. Lift up your flame from out of the darkness, fly from the night, and ye shall be free. Traveled I through space-time, knowing my soul at last was set free, knowing that now might I pursue wisdom, until at last I passed to a plane, hidden from knowledge, known not to wisdom, extension beyond all that we know. Now, O man, when I had this knowing, happy my soul grew, for now I was free. Listen ye, spaceborn, list to my wisdom, know ye not that ye too will be free? List ye again, O man, to my wisdom, that hearing ye too might live and be free. Not of the earth are ye, earthy, but child of the infinite cosmic light. Know ye not, O man, of your heritage? Know ye not ye are truly the light? Son of the great sun, when ye gain wisdom, truly aware of your kinship with light. Now to ye I give knowledge, freedom to walk in the path I have trod, showing ye truly how by my striving I trod the path that leads to the stars. Hark ye, O man, and know of thy bondage. Know how to free thyself from the toils. Out of the darkness shall ye rise upward, one with the light and one with the stars. Follow ye ever the path of wisdom, only by this can ye rise from below.
Okay, so here you see and hear that Thoth is literally talking directly the same language that Jesus said in Revelation, coming from God. You're getting the same information that could quite possibly be older. You also have things like people like Lao Tzu, the Buddha, and Moses, many other people prior to Jesus that were saying the same information. That's why a lot of people will say, well, Jesus must have traveled around and learned that. It wasn't his. That's what they say about everybody. Everything, the distraction that they say to you about everybody and everything is, well, they borrowed that from this other scroll. And they immediately turn your eyes to 3D and you start staring at the 3D object and you go, well, then I got to find the older scroll, because that's what they tell you. You got to find the older scroll. You got to find the one that originated that. And they know that what's that? They know what I know. They're all going to be finding the same information. Everyone's going to find the same information. You out there in the world can find the same information. If you do exactly what all of these ancient books, tomes, Bibles, prophets told you, ascended masters told you to do, you will unlock the same knowledge that everyone else unlocks. It's free to unlock for everyone who does this. If you are in 3D and you live in 3D and you are self-serving, that is considered evil. You will only unlock the package of self-serving. So you will not unlock this wisdom. You will unlock the wisdom of how this place works. So you'll get the basic knowledge of, I can use this matrix to my advantage, and I can manipulate other people into also using, that's what they try to get you to do. They have to distract you and control you before you're awake enough, and then they get you to do things for them, because people who are self-serving cannot create. Because to create something, you have to want to create it because you want to do something with it. People who are self-serving and in love with themselves will never create something that's going to help other people. Therefore, they cannot create. Therefore, they have to steal everything or manipulate somebody and control somebody to do it for them and then take control of it. That is the truth. If you look at everything in history and all people who are rich, you will find that it's rare that they invented a thing unless they're not self-serving. And then they invented a thing. And then you have like the stock markets around the world that are set up for those people who are in service to others, who create a thing, and they try to entice them to put it on the market to get rich. And the second they do that through 3 or 4 different companies, like BlackRock, Vanguard, the Orion Group, just to name a few, they buy 10 to 12% of the stock. That's not a lot for each one. But if 3 or 4 of them buy 10 or 12%, you're looking at more than 51% of every company. And that's what they do. So it doesn't look like there's a run on the company. So people just allow it to happen and nobody notices. But those people are a syndicate and they're all the same families. And they buy that and they have control. And then they take control of the company. And then they get rid of the people that are not self-serving and put their own people on the board of directors. And then they own the company. That's what they do with all companies. And then they run it the way they want to run it. and they only give you the information that you can call it a conspiracy theory. Look it up, figure it out. Look up every company that's on the stock market and see how much BlackRock, Vanguard, and the Orion Group, and a couple of others whose I named, but I can't remember right now. Look how much stock each one of those companies owns in every company. You'll find that every company traded has at least those three companies owning somewhere between 10 and 15% stock in every company. Why is that? Because they're controlling it. Okay, so let's get back to the Emerald Tablet. So here you have the same information being told to you about how to learn. Follow, and ye shall be one with the all. He who will follow the pathway of wisdom, not the pathway of greed, power, click, money, fame, power, likes, and the like, but he who will follow the path of wisdom, open must be the flower of life. Okay, so what is that? The flower of life, right? You have a lot of people talking about that these days, of trying to open the flower of life and look at it from a third dimensional perspective instead of a one or two dimensional perspective, because that's all the drawings have ever been, is a two-dimensional perspective of the flower of life. What is the flower of life? The flower of life is the Fibonacci sequence, or the golden mean ratio, which creates taking the flower of life to third dimension or fourth dimensional reality instead of a two-dimensional drawing. Just like the Star of David is a two-dimensional drawing, and if you look at what that Star of David is supposed to represent, it's actually the Kabelion. It's actually the what's it called? I can't think of the name of it. The heart chakra. It's actually a three-dimensional, a two-dimensional rendering of a three-dimensional object. So you don't get to see the full potential of it from the drawing of the Star of David, but it is actually the heart chakra. And if you look at what the heart chakra is supposed to be in 3 dimensions, it is in fact two different diamond shapes, not just triangle shapes, and the energies are spinning in opposite directions, which would be the wheel within a wheel, the spindle wheel that the Greeks talked about, the Romans talked about it, and then in the Hebrew Bible, it was the wheel within the wheel. The wheel within the wheel is the heart chakra that spins in both directions, both clockwise and counterclockwise, for masculine and feminine energy. And you see Thoth starts talking about that when Thoth, later on after this in the next chapter, which we're going to be going into chapter 5 in a moment, starts talking about that. But at this point, learning the path of wisdom will unlock the knowledge that you need for, if in order, with Thoth's words, only by order are ye one with the all.
Ever man's destiny leads him onward into the curves of infinity's all. Know ye, O man, that all space is ordered. Only by order are ye one with the all. Order and balance are the law of the cosmos. Follow, and ye shall be one with the all. He who would follow the pathway of wisdom, open must be to the flower of life, extending his consciousness out of the darkness, flowing through time and space in the all. Deep in the...
Well, Reese says, interesting, the flower of life gets mistaken for sacred geometry. Well, in a sense, the flower of life is sacred geometry, but it is sacred geometry in the purest sense of it's a geometric shape, and they know that there was something larger than it was. But if you look at what is his name, the actor that is blowing the world's mind with his physics right now, and I can't think of his name right this second. Reese, you might know who I'm talking about. Hi Junior, by the way. I didn't say hi to you, but I did put it up on the screen. Junior, Captain Ramos, said hello. So it is sacred geometry, but it's supposed to be third dimensional. And what's his name? I can't think of his name right now. I was just watching him talk yesterday. He was on a TV series for a while, and I can see his face, but I can't think of his name right now. He made it into a 3-dimensional rendering on the computer, and then he's created it physically so that he can show people that it's supposed to be third dimensional, not just looking down at that. And some people just say, oh, well, it's just it's a flower. Well, it is, but if you look at it from the sense of cell division, I've shown that too, where you see no, but yes, Joe Dispenza as well. Thank you, Brooke. No, that's not who I was talking about, but that's one of the people. That is one of the people that's working on it. Joe is working on it because he's working on it, and I can't think of his name right now. He was in that TV series when it was about the family who owned the record label and record company, and they were on the air. It was Lion something or other, the record company. He was the TV. He's an actor, and he's been in a bunch of things, and I can't think of his name, and I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on it. But Joe Dispenza is one of the people that's also working on it, and because of all the stuff that's going on with that. So they're discovering that these guys, just like the yin and the yang, just like all of these other things, the Star of David, they're starting to realize that they were a two-dimensional rendering of a third-dimensional actual thing that we've started to discover that is third-dimensional and 4D, not just 2D, and that they didn't have the wherewithal to figure that out, and they were starting to with the building blocks of the sacred geometry. They were starting to get the 4D rendering, but the problem that they had, getting back to what Reese was talking about, the problem that they had was they got caught with straight lines. And this is what what's his name was talking about. I can see his face. I can't think of his name. He said the same thing, that they got caught with straight lines. So because of that, you have the building blocks of the sacred geometry, and everything was in straight lines. Nothing was curved. Nothing was pointed. It was only pointed if you had a right angle. So they got caught with 2D thinking, and so therefore everything that they did was boxes. Nothing was round, even round shapes. So you had the Fibonacci sequence is actually the sharp points. It's actually squares and rectangles that move. That is one facet of the universe, but there's a softer side to the universe, which is the feminine side of the universe. That's the masculine side of the universe. There's a feminine side of the universe, which is the golden mean ratio that was discovered later, which is the outside curve of the points of those boxes that were the Fibonacci sequence, and that was the golden mean ratio, which is the spiral. And that's why it became so important in history for people to write the spiral in the caves. They were trying to leave this information of the spiral of nature, of the not just the Fibonacci sequence, and everyone calls the golden mean ratio the Fibonacci circle, and it's not. Fibonacci did not understand the golden mean ratio. That was later on. That was discovered. I don't remember who discovered it, but it wasn't Fibonacci. So Reese, getting back to the flower of life, it was a 2D rendering of a third dimensional concept, and that one was the only one. And this is where I think Reese is contention of people thinking that it was sacred geometry, because the flower of life is not square. It's not straight lines. If you look at the flower of life, they're trying to attempt to draw a third dimensional rendering of a top-down view of a third dimensional thing. So that's why it looks like there's points to it, because there actually is. So what's his name did, whose name I can't remember right this second, which is driving me crazy. What he did was create that. What if it is third dimensional, and pulled things into the 3D, and then made the little pieces that could go in there, and that they're building blocks, and they look more like little stars than they do three-sided stars and six-sided stars if it's going and pointing both directions up and down, instead of flat on the bottom looking top down. And he said, what if that is it? And once they did the calculations for that on a computer and with their math, they said it has to be what it is, because all of a sudden it started unlocking things. So now he's going around the world and showing the world and talking about it. So that flower of life, which was in the Orient, in the East, where they were doing the yin and yang, where they understood that the lines were not square, whereas the Greeks and the Romans were stuck on square. They were stuck on straight lines. Where you have the Asians who were not, and they were making circles. They were more fluid. So they were the ones, the Indians, the Hindus, the India and Asia. They were the ones who started the flowing, noticing the feminine energies a little bit more in mathematics. And it's just taken us until, now, which is thousands of years later, to fully start understanding what it is that they were talking about. And you have a pushback from science because science is locked into, Fibonacci. It's locked into, this, just like Newtonian law. When I was in physics in college, so we're looking at 30 years ago, I was getting into it because of Einsteinian theory was more fluid. Einstein, and then even after that with the other scientists, but everybody was looking at Newtonian law. And those people who learned Newtonian physics before Einsteinian law or Einsteinian physics argued the point all the time because they learned this physics from a man who was 5,000 years ago as opposed to physics from a man who was 100 years ago. So therefore, this has to be the way it was because it's always been that way. And I remember getting into a philosophical debate with people who were all about this old world physics that's 5,000 years old. And my contention was, what makes you think that things can't change, that things can't be discovered? You're saying that they discovered everything that there was to discover thousands of years ago, and that's it. And you can't have anything that you are saying that the universe is locked into that, and that they found out everything there was to know in the universe. If that's the case, why was it that they did nothing with it? Why was it that we're doing things now that are against those laws of that physics that are coming out of that? So the same thing's happening with the flower of life in the aspect of moving into 4D thinking instead of 3D, which was 2D renderings. So in the 3D, everything was 2D rendering. So now if you expand your consciousness into the possibility that there is another dimension, instead of dimension, 3D being a dimension, there's a density. There's another entire part to this equation that is non-physical. You have the physical and the non-physical. And that helps to explain, now I'm getting into physics, that helps to explain ether and whether ether is a constant or if it's not, and whether it's coherent or whether it's not. And those people who utilize the idea of saying that ether was not a constant, which was what what's his name, Tesla did. Tesla said that the ether bed was not a fixed entity, and that it was fluid, and that it was a constant, but it was fixed. It was not fixed. When he did that, it answered his mathematical equations and allowed him to unlock 3, 6, and 9, which means that he unlocked the spiral of golden mean ratio, not the Fibonacci sequence, which said that the ether bed was a fixed nature, which goes back to Newtonian logic, that everything is fixed in nature and in the universe, and that's it, and that they were right about everything, in which case we would have never gone to the moon. So I know that some of you may not understand what I'm saying here because you may not understand physics or the mathematics of everything, but that's what Reese was talking about, how he was saying weird that they thought that it was a sacred geometry, because his reference to sacred geometry was everything inside that box where the ether bed was fixed and the universe was closed. It was fixed. And that's why everything was square. And it's wrong. It's not. It's fluid. It's fluid. It's able to move this way, up and down and left and right, not just linear. So in a linear sense, looking straight at an object and drawing it two-dimensional, that's all that it is. But if you rotate that, it disappears on a plane. When you get to the side azimuth of an object, it will disappear and become just one single straight line. And there's people out there now that are showing you that with the Fibonacci spiral, right, with the golden mean ratio, where they're showing you that depending on how you look at it, it looks just like it's doing this on a scale. And then when you look at it this way, you realize it's doing this on a scale. And then when you look at it this way, you realize it's doing this on a scale. Okay. And it's the same line. And all three of those are energy, frequency, vibration. So when you unlock the 3, 6, and 9 and azimuth or pitch and yaw to these things, and looking at them from a different angle, you see that it becomes a 3-dimensional spiral that's spiraling out like this, instead of just going in a circle into the inside and then back out again. And then when you look at it from the side, it will only look like this unless you tilt it slightly, and then you realize that it's going upwards and downwards like this. And that's where you have to see things from a different perspective, from a 3-dimensional, 4th dimensional, because 3D, you have to have a singular point that is on the outside looking in to make an object truly 3rd dimensional. So a 4th dimension is your point of view from a distance looking at the 3rd dimensional object. I don't know if you guys understand that in particle physics. Okay, so that if you looked at Stargate, the movie back in the 1980s, when they were talking about pinpointing the Stargate, that the reference points that were on the Stargate itself, the way they discovered that was that the person, his mathematics, understood coordinates. When you're trying to look for coordinates to a place, you have to have a single point. So you have to have points of reference that coincide and cross over, and that point becomes your destination. But to go to that destination, you have to have a point outside of that world, outside of that 3rd dimensional space where that point crosses, with the references on the, like if you were to draw a line from New York City and draw it straight over to LA, and then take one from Anchorage, Alaska, and go straight over to Daytona Beach, Florida, they would intersect at a singular point. But to go to that singular point, you have to have a point of origin to go to that point. So when you're on a map quest, you type in your location and the location you want to go to, and the map finds that location by doing that. This is the location, and then says, this is where you are, and this is how you get to that location. That concept for your map quest is 4-dimensional in thinking, and it's synced up to a satellite to do that. So the satellite is the observer from a distance looking down at a topical map. That would be what you would be doing if you were looking at a map and you were going, this is where I want to go, and this is where I am, and that's how I get there. So looking at the flower of life, if you're looking at it from the top down and only seeing that one angle, you're only seeing that top-down rendering. And if you tilt it, if you pull it up to a 0 point, it's going to be just one straight line. You're not going to see any of the lines that are drawn here. If you tilt it this way, what are you going to see? And that is what they did with the mathematics. What is that supposed to be? And is it tilted? Is it coming out both ends, or what? And they started doing the mathematical equations. That is the spiral that is giving 4-dimensional ideology. I don't know if I've lost everybody and you guys don't know what I'm talking about here when I'm saying this. It's very possible that right now the math is, for anybody who understands physics in any way, or the math of physics, you're understanding what I'm talking about. If not, then you're probably thinking I'm just talking gibberish right now. So the expanding of your consciousness, let me pull it back to what's happening with Thoth the Atlantean. The expansion of your consciousness away from the physical into the spiritual plane, and the realization that there is another plane of existence that is not this physical plane, is the next evolution as you're moving from 3rd dimensional thinking to 4th dimensional thinking. And the realization of the 4th dimensional thinking is what will unlock the 5th dimension. And the 5th dimension is out of body in relation to the universe itself, in moving your consciousness, realizing your consciousness in the spirit body, not the physical body, detached from this avatar, in the non-physical, in the spiritual. And that is what people are trying to show you with the flower of life. And that's what Reese was referring to, with people making a mistake and thinking that was one of the building blocks of the ether bed, when it was not. It was actually the mathematical equation that is actually supposed to unlock that. And that is what I can't think of his name. That is what he's doing now, is trying to unlock that. And I can't think of the actor's name, who's a genius, trying to show that a 4D rendering of this 2D product, a 3D rendering of it on the computer, and then showing the pieces that you can see of that flower of life to unlock the flower of life, and showing you the transmutation or transgression of objects in that equation. In unlocking that is the expansion of your consciousness, is the expansion of moving you into your soul. And that's why there's so much kickback and pushback from linear-minded secularists that it can't be that, because that would suggest that there is a creator of the universe, and we can't have that. So that's why there's a lot of pushback and fight over that. And I don't know if that is helping anyone besides brainiacs who understand physics and spirituality at this point. Let's continue. Let me go over here into full screen with Thoth. But Thoth here is talking about your journey. Let's get back to 3D, your journey to unlocking your potential and creating or realizing your soul potential, that you are not the physical body, that you are beyond that, and that you can pull back that veil of darkness and veil of night and realize you're an immortal soul, and that you are not of this plane, and that you are in fact starborn. You are born of the stars. You are one of the immortal beings that was created before this physical plane was created.
Silence, first ye must linger, until at last ye are free from desire, free from the longing to speak in the silence. Conquer by silence the bondage of words, abstaining from eating until we have conquered desire for food, that is bondage of soul. Then lie ye down in the darkness, close ye your eyes from the rays of the light. Center thy soul force in the place of thine consciousness, shaking it free from the bonds of the night. Place in thy mind, place the image thou desireth. Picture the place thou desireth to see. Vibrate back and forth with thy power. Loosen the soul from out of its night. Fiercely must thou shake with all of thy power.
See, so this is actually describing to you how you shake off the veil, how you actually use your consciousness and the power that you have to push past that last moment. Because as you're moving up in your vibration, when you're going to ascend to another level, when you get there, there's always that plateau. Like if you're dieting, you know what I'm talking about. If you're a bodybuilder, working out, you know what I'm talking about. It becomes harder, and you can't go forward. It becomes harder for you as you're lifting weights, and you're like, I can't go past this point. I can't go past this point. I'm right here, and I can't lift anymore, and I can't lift anymore, and I just keep hitting this. And you're on this plateau, and then one day, all of a sudden, it becomes easier, and you just fly past that plateau. What happened there? You broke through that barrier of that level of consciousness or physicality, and you move past that. The same thing with people that are trying to lose weight, or like stuck, and all of a sudden they're like, I'm doing everything and exercising and I'm eating right and I'm doing all these things and I'm not losing any weight. And then all of a sudden it just goes boom, and you lose like 5 pounds in a week. What happened? That is a plateau that you hit. So when we are moving up from one vibration to the next level of vibration, that every time you do that, there is that pushback where it's harder to go through. It's like that concept of it's darkest just before the dawn. It's harder for you to get through. You hit that plateau, and it's really hard for you to go past that. This is a description of the piercing of the veil, because at first you start to be able to see through the veil, and you get glimpses of the light. You get glimpses of the illumination, and you start to wake up, and you start to have dreams, and you start to have out-of-body experiences. And then you're trying to wake up, and everyone goes through this. They get to this point where they're like, I was talking to my guides, now they're all quiet. I'm trying to get and trying to do things and nothing's happening. I'm not making any headway. I'm not getting any downloads. I don't understand what's happening. And it just seems like there's just nothing happening and it's pushing back and I can't do anything and I can't move. There's got to be something going on. I don't know what's going on. And we tell everybody when they hit that plateau, they get frustrated because you're pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and nothing is happening. Why are my guides ignoring me? Why am I not getting any downloads? Why am I not seeing anything anymore? What is happening here? And it is because you are at that plateau of a big download that you're about to unlock, or you're at that place where you're going to unlock the veil and you're going to pierce that veil. And it's the hardest thing that you're going to have to do. So you have to continue to fight for that, but you have to surrender. And this is the part that drives people crazy. How do you surrender and keep pushing? You have to surrender because you're getting in your own way and holding yourself back because you're trying to push for a third dimensional outcome. And you don't realize that all your concepts are third dimensional. You're thinking of your guides that they're physically in a place. You're thinking of your higher self and that's in a physical place. And you're thinking of the creator of the universe that it's in a physical place in the universe. You're thinking of all these things in a physical way. I need to pierce the veil because I need to get to some place. And you're not actually expanding your consciousness to the all, to the instantaneous, to the out of body, not bringing this flesh body with me, that I'm going to be moving into my spirit body. And that's the hardest part. And this is where Ra is telling you that you have to use all the power that you have to wriggle your way away from this physicality and move into the spiritual. Okay. Let me go back over here and keep forgetting to put that back up into full screen. Okay, let's continue.
Till at last thy soul shall be free. Mighty beyond words is the flame of the cosmic, hanging in plains, unknown to man. Mighty and balanced, moving in order, music of harmonies far beyond man. Speaking with music, singing with color, flame from the beginning of eternity's all. Spark of the flame art thou, O my children, burning with color and living with music. List to the voice and thou shalt be free. Consciousness free is fused with the cosmic, one with the order and lo of the all. Knew ye not man that out of the darkness light shall flame forth, a symbol of all? Pray ye this prayer for attaining or wisdom. Pray for the coming of light to the all. Mighty spirit of light that shines through the cosmos, draw my flame closer in harmony to thee. Lift up my fire from out of the darkness, magnet of fire that is one with the all. Lift up my soul, thou might and potent. Child of the light, turn not away. Draw me in power to melt in thy furnace. One with all things and all things in one, fire of the life strain, and one with the brain. When ye have freed thy soul from its bondage, know that for ye the darkness is gone. Ever through space ye may seek wisdom, bound not by fetters forged in the flesh. Onward and upward into the morning, free flash, O soul, to the realms of light. Move thou in order, move thou in harmony. Freely shalt move with the children of light. Seek ye and know ye my key of wisdom. Thus, O man, ye shall surely be free.
Okay, so literally that is explaining to you how you get out of your physical body and start moving into the non-physical. You just have to have the determination. You have to have the wisdom, so you have to be in service to others to gain that information and unlock that information. Okay, so this is the perfect time before we go into chapter 5 to put up the banner of Merlin and Maeve once again. Right, we will be. Let me find the address here again and put this up on the screen. Brooke and myself, we will be at Mystic Moon Markets tomorrow, Sunday, 21st of September, the Central Coast League Club, 1 Dane Drive, Gosford. 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Come and see us there. There is the market is there. There's going to be all kinds of booths set up with all kinds of people selling like everything you can imagine, from ormus to potions to tinctures to candles to all these wares. People are selling wands, and all of this stuff is made by people. It's not run off an assembly line by corporate anybody. It's made by these people from around New South Wales. So if you are in New South Wales, Australia, or anywhere near there and want to come to Gosford tomorrow, go to the Mystic Moon Market at 1 Dane Drive in Gosford, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Brooke and I will be there. Brooke will be doing Reiki. We'll be setting up a table there. I will be sitting at the table. You will see this symbol that you see there, Merlin and Maeve, that you will see that image that you see on your screen. We'll be sitting at the table. I will be there, and I will be talking to people and answering questions. And if I don't have time to do that right then, we will have a pad of paper that you can put questions on with your name on it and the question, and you can put it into a jar. And then at noon, I will be going live. I will be at their little center stage that they have there. They have a little area that they have set up. I will be going live there. We will try to go live on my laptop, to go live on Facebook and YouTube. Hopefully we'll have a good signal in there and we'll be able to do that. If not, Brooke will record it, and I will be doing an hour of channeling. I will be channeling Thoth the Atlantean, and I will be answering questions about spirituality. I will be answering questions that you guys either write and put into the jars that we will have set up for you, or you have in the audience ask questions, or if you are live on Facebook or YouTube and you have questions at that time, you can then ask those questions, and Brooke will be monitoring those questions while we are live. And you'll be able to, I will be able to answer those unless we have too many questions, and then we will see how that goes, because I will only have 1 hour to do this. So we'll see how much I can get through, but I will talk faster and I will not go on too long. I will try to be more direct than I am when I'm talking like on here and giving you all kinds of information. I'll be a lot more direct with my answers for you guys to figure out. Okay. So in the interim, in between doing that, while, Brooke is Reikiing people and I'm talking to people, I will be sitting at the table with my book. I will have 5 hard copies of my book. I will have 9 softcover copies of my book that will be selling, and I will be giving you a signature on those. I will sign the book for you if you come in person and buy one of the books, and I'll sign it for you. The hardcover books will be $60, and that will include my signature on the book. If you try to buy the book right now and you are in Australia, it will cost you $80 for the book to have it shipped to you, and I think that's before shipping. So it's probably more like $100 to have the book shipped to you. So you're going to get a $40 off plus my signature for free. If you want the softcover book, it will be $40. I had said 30 earlier and I was wrong. $40. If you buy the book online, it's $30 by itself plus shipping. So if you come there and you buy it from me, I will give you my signature for free. I'll sign it for you and sell it to you for $40. So you're going to get a really good deal. Right. And so what is this book, Leo, that you're selling to us? Well, here is that book.
What is the reality about reality? Returning to the old ways. It is a comprehensive book about what is really going on here on this planet. It talks about the true spirituality that the controllers who think they own this planet have been keeping from you for thousands of years. It explains to you the knowledge that you gain from the universe itself when you live the way the prophets of the world throughout time told us how to live. Eat right, meditate, take care of yourself, treat others right. All the things they originally told us to do, but the controllers have removed from right in front of our eyes. The way to ascend to heaven. The reality about reality. Returning to the old ways. On sale worldwide online now.
All right, so come on out if you're in New South Wales, Australia, or anywhere near there. Come on out to the Mystic Moon Market tomorrow, Sunday, September 21st. Central Coast League Club, 1 Dane Drive, Gosford, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. There's going to be all kinds of booths set up, all kinds of stuff that is holistic in nature and created by these people. And if you go to my Facebook page or Brooke's Facebook page, you will see advertisements from all over the place from these people who are going to be there, pictures of their products that we're going to have over there. And they have booths set up. I don't know how many booths are going to be there, but it's a big event, and I think it's the second event that they have done. It's going to be really cool. You guys might want to come out and take a look. Okay, let me pull these banners down, and we'll get back into Thoth the Atlantean, chapter 5. Let me go over here and hit play.
Emerald Tablet 5, The Dweller of Unal. Oft dream I of buried Atlantis, lost in the ages that have passed into night. Aeon on aeon thou existed in beauty, a light shining through the darkness of night. Mighty in power, ruling the earthborn, Lord of the earth in Atlantis' day. King of the nations, master of wisdom, light through Suntal, keeper of the way, dwelt in his temple, the master of Unal, light of the earth in Atlantis' day. Master he from a cycle beyond us, living in bodies as one among men, not as the earthborn, he from beyond us, son of a cycle, advanced beyond men. Know ye, O man, that Horlet, the master, was never one with the children of men. Far in the past time when Atlantis first grew as a power, appeared there one with the key of wisdom, showing the way of light to all. Showed he to all men the path of attainment, way of the light that flows among men, mastering darkness, leading the man's soul upward to heights that were one with the light. Divided the kingdoms he into sections, 10 were they, ruled by children of men. Upon another built he a temple, built but not by the children of men. Out of the ether called he its substance, molded and formed by the power of Italan, into the forms he built with his mind. Mile upon mile it covered the island, space upon space it grew in its might, black yet not black, but dark like the space-time, deep in its heart the essence of light. Swiftly the temple grew into being, molded and shaped by the word of the dweller, called from the formless into a form. Builded he then, within it, great chambers, filled them with forms called forth from the ether, filled them with wisdom called forth by his mind. Formless was he within his temple, yet was he formed in the image of men, dwelling among them, yet not of them, strange and far different was he from the children of men. Chose he then from among the people 3 who became his gateway. Choose he the 3 from the highest to become his links with Atlantis. Messengers they who carried his counsel to the kings of the children of men. Brought he forth others and taught them wisdom, teachers they to the children of men. Placed he them on the island of Undal to stand as teachers of light to men. Each of those who were thus chosen, taught must he be for years 5 and 10. Only thus could he have understanding to bring light to the children of men. Thus there came into being the temple, a dwelling place for the master of men. I, Thoth, have ever sought wisdom, searching in darkness and searching in light. Long in my youth I traveled the pathway, seeking ever new knowledge to gain, until, after much striving, one of the 3 to me brought the light. Brought he to me the commands of the dweller, called me from the darkness into the light. Brought he me before the dweller, deep in the temple before the great fire. There on the great throne beheld I, the dweller, clothed with the light and flashing with fire. Down I knelt before that great wisdom, feeling the light flowing through me in waves. Heard I then the voice of the dweller. O darkness, come into the light. Long have ye sought the pathway to light. Each soul on
This brilliant device keeps your home cool in summer, even during heat waves and power outages. It's smaller than a lunchbox.
earth that loosens its fetters, shall soon be made free from the bondage of night. Forth from the darkness have ye arisen, closer approached the light of your goal. Here ye shall dwell as one of my children, keeper of records gathered by wisdom, instrument thou of the light from beyond, ready by thou made to do what is needed, preserver of wisdom through the ages of darkness, that shall come fast on the children of men. Live thee here, and drink of all wisdom, secrets and mysteries unto thee shall unveil. Then answered I, the master of cycles, saying, O light, that descended to men, give thou to me of thy wisdom, that I might be a teacher of men. Give thou of thy light, that I may be free. Spoke then to me again the master, Age after age shall ye live through your wisdom. Aye, when o'er Atlantis the ocean waves roll, holding the light, though hidden in darkness, ready to come whenever thou shalt call. Go thee now and learn greater wisdom. Grow thou through light to infinities all. Long then dwelt I in the temple.
Yeah, Melissa said, always flame, it's always warmth. You have to remember, Melissa, that back then they had their light was flame. It wasn't until the 20th century when our light became incandescent and fluorescent, and then now it's the computer, so it's another form of light. All times from 1900 backwards in the world was fire. Fire was light, because it was either candlelight or a fire from a hearth, or it was always a fire from a flame or an oil lamp. So fire meant light. Fire and the warmth of the fire meant illumination. So the references back then would have been more warmth than fire because it was light. So the illumination in the soul, the illumination of you, of me, right? Even Reese over in Instagram said always flame, right? So yeah, always flame, because flame was light, but also it's a duality. It's the dual aspect. It's an ambiguity, because the fire within you, the light within you, also the flame is determination. So it's not just an incandescence. It's not just an illumination, but in the Viking pantheon, it was the lightning. It was Thor's lightning, right? And yes, Melissa said it lives in us, right? And that's because it is. So it's your life force. So in the Thor pantheon, Thor means thunder. Mjolnir, his hammer of war, means lightning. So his hammer of war means controller of lightning. So he was the god of thunder, and he had control of lightning. So he would in fact, one of the prayers to Odin, or to Thor, or to Odin sending Thor and talking to Thor, is, Thor, crack the sky. Use your hammer of war and crack the sky. And in cracking the sky, what happens when thunder happens? There's a thunderclap, and then lightning cracks the sky, cracks the darkness, and illuminates everything and lights up with that cracking effect of the sky. When lightning shoots across the sky, it looks like it's cracking the sky open. So crack the sky and scare off Fenrir the wolf. Fenrir the wolf would be the veil of darkness, or the clouds that block the sun, is the gray covering of the gray wolf, the fur of the gray wolf, which is the veiling. So in the physical sense, it's the clouds that are blocking out the sun, again, blocking out the fire of light. And so in the physical, that was the physical representation. Fenrir the wolf, in the sky, the clouds are the same color as the fur of the wolf, covering the sky in darkness. And then the cracking of the sky would create the light, and then that would scare off, because the storm would rain down when the clouds collided and all the water would drain out. The storm would rain down, and guess what happens? When all the water comes out of it, the clouds start to dissipate, and then you have a clear sky after the storm blows through. So Thor would crack the sky and illuminate, and that was a visual representation that you could teach children, that is Thor cracking the sky, and that the god of thunder. So people talk about in places where they were not Bohemian with that religion, they would say it's raining, it's pouring, the old man is snoring. Who's the old man? The old man is God. The old man is snoring. But the old man tried to get out of bed, slipped, hit his head, and didn't wake up until morning. He was veiled because you're on the veiling of the darkness right now, and he won't wake up until morning. That's a saying to teach the children that when the storm blows over, he will wake up, and you will wake up. The illumination, once again, in these old fables and stories that people don't know, that are being told to children. So always flame, always fire, always that as light, and the flame is the flame that burns within you, the light that burns within you, your determination, your physical presence, and in your wanting to learn and strive forward is your fight, is your fire, the fire in your belly. You hear all these terms talking about that. So it's always fire, it's always warmth, and it's always light. And these days, people don't understand the references so much because our light is incandescent or fluorescent or otherwise these days, salt lamps and things, the light. So we have all of this completely different light, so we don't understand the references between light, darkness, fire, and warmth and flame being the illumination as much today. And we have to learn. This is another reason why I talk about returning to the old ways, because if you don't understand the references that have been told throughout time, because our references are different now, but if you were to go touch an incandescent light bulb, it'll burn your fingers. Why? Because it's hot, because there's fire inside there. That thing's actually on fire in there. People don't realize that. That filament is glowing because it's burning, and it's burning the gas that's inside. It's charging the gas inside. You're actually creating a mini sun when you're doing that. The sun, people don't realize the sun is not on fire. The sun is not on fire. The particles are transforming because there's hydrogen. The particles are transforming from one particle to another, and it's creating a vibration, energy, and a frequency. And that energy and frequency is in a realm of heat. Okay, so we're feeling the realm of heat, and the sun is glowing. It's the same concept as the filament that's in your light bulb. If you have a clear light bulb and you turn the light bulb on and you put on dimmers, that green sunglasses that you can look at the sun with, and you look at it, you'll see that it's a filament, a metal filament that is in there. That is, I believe it's copper. That it's in there. I don't know if they use copper anymore, but it used to be copper. And you're charging it with electricity. The electricity is hitting the center point, and that's creating friction. And that friction is making the metal glow. And the metal, as it starts to glow, is speeding up the molecules of the air inside. And there's like a xenon gas. I don't know if it's exactly xenon anymore, but there's a gas that's inside there, and it's actually all the gas right next to where the heat is heating up so much that it's glowing. You're actually creating the same scenario that is on the sun in a light bulb. We're recreating it in a mini way, in a little teeny dot, and the electricity is hitting that with alternating current. So the light bulb is actually turning on and off as that current's going, but it's going so fast our eyes can't pick up the flash. Our eyes can't pick up the flutter. But if you film it in slow motion, you can see that it's the indirect current that is hitting it. It's flickering. So that light is doing that. The sun is doing the same thing. It's turning on and turning off, but it's literally just vibration that is causing the gas to glow, and that gas glowing is causing heat. So it's actually not on fire, but people think that it's on fire. Okay, but it's still, again, warmth, light, and fire. But it seems that the people in the past, thousands of years ago, understood that better than we did. It took us until the modern day to figure it out again. It seems that they realized that the sun was not on fire, that it was actually warmth. In a weird way, they kind of had an idea of physics that we didn't understand, it looks like. So again, you are looking at that because that is the reference that is being used throughout all of time, is fire, and fire is light, and light is the creator, and the creator is wisdom. So fire and light have everything to do with the illumination, has everything to do with wisdom.
Temple of the dweller, until at last I was one with the light. Followed I then the path to the star plains, followed I then the pathway to light. Deep into Earth's heart I followed the pathway, learning the secrets below as above, learning the pathway to the halls of Amenti, learning the law that balances the word. To Earth's hidden chambers pierced I by my wisdom, deep through the Earth's crust, into the pathway, hidden for ages from the children of men. Unveiled before me, ever more wisdom until I reached a new knowledge, found that all is part of an all, great and yet greater than all that we know. Searched I infinity's heart through all the ages, deep and yet deeper, more mysteries I found. Now, as I look back through the ages, know I that wisdom is boundless, ever grown greater throughout the ages, one with infinities greater than all. Light there was in ancient Atlantis, yet darkness too was hidden in all. Fell from the light into the darkness some who had risen to heights among men. Proud they became because of their knowledge, proud were they of their place among men. Deep delved they into the forbidden, opened the gateway that led to below. Sought they to gain ever more knowledge, but seeking to bring it up from below. He who descends below must have balance, else he is bound by lack of our light.
Okay, so here literally Thoth is explaining the difference between being in service to others and in service to self. Right? Again, this is coming up. Those who are in service to others will find this pathway of knowledge, right? So those who do not will not be able to open up this package of knowledge. They'll only be able to open up the package of the physical plane. So descending below must have balance, else he is bound by lack of our light, right? So that is literally the what is in the revelation of Jesus. That's what's in The Way by Lao Tzu. That's what's in the Buddha sayings. That's what's in all spiritual scrolls around the world from all times. The nature of the message to everyone is the same as this. So this is where some people will then go, well, this must have been borrowed from an older scroll then. We have to find that older scroll, and then you get caught running around looking for a scroll, chopping down all the trees because you're trying to find the forest and the trees are in the way, right? So you're no longer searching, you're no longer focusing on the message itself. That's not important. We have to figure out who wrote it and when that was written and who and where they borrowed that from. And that's very third dimensional thinking. It's very 3D, and it's very much ignore the message. Don't even focus on that. We have to find in history where the oldest one was. And everybody runs back to Mesopotamia and says, this one must be it, right? This is the oldest scroll. So therefore, we have to study this scroll. And then they don't. And then all they do is they pick out the word Anunnaki and go, gods, aliens. And then the aliens came down, and then they just start making shit up, and they start saying that the aliens created all of everything, right? And so because it says that they taught them how to create the world and how to create stuff, they go, then they must have created everything that we have. And then they get these conspiracy theories, and it's all third dimensional, 3D aliens came down here. We were slaves to them. They created us because they needed slaves. They never watch us, and they're gone, but they say they're going to come back, and they never come back, and they keep telling us they're going to come back, and they're overdue to come back, so they're going to come back at any time. And they always come back because they keep coming back every 3,000 years, but yet there's nowhere in history to show that they were here, and then 3,000 years earlier they were here, and then 3,000 years earlier they were here. There's never any of that. They just have this cycle of, well, the Mesopotamian scroll, which is maybe 7,000 years old, 5,000 years old, so they're overdue for coming back. And that talked about a time that they came 3,000 years earlier. So they must have been here 3,000 years ago, and then at that time, so they're supposed to be here now. And that's all that they have. So they keep saying there's this cycle that they keep coming back. They didn't keep coming back. The story was telling you that somebody came 3,000 years ago. Story wasn't saying they're here now. The story was saying they came here. Okay. And even that was wrong in the translation, but I'm not going to go down that road. It's a pet peeve of mine because people ignore the fact that the scholars say completely something different. And they've just added the whole pantheon that it was Anunnaki. And now they're saying that somewhere the Anunnaki claimed they made everything. So now on the internet, the secular internet will tell you that Anunnaki made all the religions. Before it was just the religions were fake and that they weren't even real by the secularists. And then the last year, all of a sudden it turned into, wait, the Anunnaki wrote those. Okay. Yes, dog chasing its tail. Unfortunately, that's what they get you doing, right? And and they destroyed Atlantis. Yeah, they did. The evil people on Atlantis destroyed Atlantis because they were messing with the 3, 6, and 9, and they literally cracked the sky. They cracked the earth. They didn't crack the actual crust, but they stopped the earth from spinning. And that literally caused a cataclysm that caused the floods, that caused the deluge. They were messing around with it. The Earth's core stopped spinning, and therefore the mantle continued to, through inertia, move, and the crust that we're all on continued to move across the Earth with the center of the Earth not spinning anymore. And when they did that, the Earth actually flipped over on its axis. This is actually in history, been recorded in history. The Earth flipped over on its axis and then flipped back up on its axis, and they restarted the Earth spinning. But by that time, when it had shifted upright, we were tilted crooked, which is where we are today. We're tilted crooked, and we're wobbling now, and we're moving slowly back towards the 0 point. But we're wobbling, and we're crooked, and we have been crooked. So they flipped over on its axis for one day, flipped back up on its axis. There's literally a history all over the world of the day that the sun set in the west, rose in the east, set in the west, rose in the west, set in the east, then rose in the east and set in the west. The only way that happens is if the earth flipped over on its axis. So the earth for one day flipped over and then flipped back up again before the next 24-hour cycle, so that the earth was spinning in the right direction again, sitting upright, and then the sun came up in the right direction, came up in the east and went in the west and stayed that way. But we've been off kilter ever since. In that time period, they stopped the Earth's core from spinning, and that caused the landmass to continue shifting. The Earth flipped over, which is going to wash. If you take anything and you put it in a globe, or even if the Earth is flat and you flip it upside down and flip it back, the water is going to keep moving. I just did that here in the house when we were cooking, and Brooke was laughing about it because there's a pot that we have that's concaved. And so when it sits there, if you bump it, it'll wobble a little bit and stop. But if you have water in it and you bump it, and it'll start to wobble, and the water itself will continue the pot to move. And if you have the pot on to boil, it'll never stop. It becomes like the Eola pile, which was the first steam engine, and the hot water now bubbling on the inside, and the wave that is moving will continue because the water on the inside bubbling is now creating the wave to work even more. And I bumped it, and I stood there, and she goes, "That's not going to stop. You know that, right?" Because Brooke is like a super genius in physics. I said, "I know, isn't it great?" And she goes, "It drives me crazy. You're going to have to stop that." And I went, boop, and I touched it, and then it stopped. But when I let go, because the water was still moving, it started going again. And she just looked at me, and I had to hold on to it for a minute and let the water slow down and just bubble normally, and then I let go of it, and it was okay. But my point of that is that once the Earth's core stopped moving, the crust, because the mantle was still moving through inertia, the crust then started to float in a way, because it wasn't the Earth flipped over on its axis and flipped back over, and it didn't have that rotation from the center to hold it in that position of turning. And that's what holds everything in place where it is now, is that the Earth is turning on the inside, and the planet itself is rotating, and that's what holds the crust, which is floating on the mantle like water, only it's molten. It holds us in that one place because the inside's turning and the outside is turning at a certain speed. Here I'm going down physics again. So when that inside turns off, the water sloshes and keeps going, but the planet itself flipped over. And if you've ever done one of those spin things where you hold a tire like for a bicycle, and they have handles on it, and they spin it, and then they tell you to move it over and turn it upside down, at that 90 degrees and then back upright, you'll see that wobbling becomes out of control and hard for you to do until you go past a seminal point, and then it gets easy. But then if you try to flip it back over to where you're going to have that same wobble, and everything is and then it's going to go back over to the easy movement. That happened to the Earth. And that meant that the Earth had a giant earthquake, and all of the land masses shifted from their position, and that caused a rippling, outward energy, which actually damaged our ozone layer, damaged the ionosphere, which at the time had trillions of decaliters of water up there, and all of that water started leaking out, and it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. They got the thing turned back on, but the sea level now rose by 500 feet in 40 days. There's your flood. 500 feet. The sea level, the entire sea level of the Earth rose 500 feet in 40 days. Okay, so nothing actually sank into the ocean. The ocean rose above that and engulfed the planet 500 feet. So that destroyed Atlantis, destroyed most of civilization, and only people in the high countries of everything, or the people who made it there, or Noah on an ark that was smart enough to be on a boat, only those people survived that deluge. So the people that were up high enough in altitude would not have been affected, and they would have survived that deluge. But most of the cities, even today, are on the coastline of all worlds, of all countries. And not all of them, but most of the population. You look at the United States, 3/4 of the population of the United States of America is along the coast. If the sea level rose 500 feet in 40 days, those people would have to run for their lives, or they would be caught in a tsunami and they would all die. So the majority of the population of just the United States alone, and you look at England, London would be underwater in the first day. Okay. So if that happened today, my point is the population of the Earth would probably diminish by 75% or more in a 40-day time period, because people wouldn't be able to get out of the way fast enough or get to the higher ground fast enough, because you couldn't fly, because everything would be all out of control, and you wouldn't be able to navigate because the planet's flipping over and flipping back over on its axis. We would have no electronic communications, no batteries, no power. Everybody would be running for their lives and trying to literally drive on the roads and run through the forests to get up to higher ground while the water is rising at 10 feet per second, right? So the Atlantis, right? Yeah, sorry, I haven't been looking at the chat. You guys are talking in the chat over there, right? Yeah, the day the Earth stood still, right? Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I didn't realize Melissa said that, the day the Earth stood still, right? Brooke is laughing. It's a cheap pot, right? But it's still funny because it just barely has a concave, and just enough though that if you tap it, it'll start to vibrate. If there's water in it, it'll just keep going. It just keeps moving. And I was laughing about it, and so was Brooke, but she was like, "Stop it, please!" Right? Because it just got hot, and something happened, and it bent slightly. And instead of like banging the bottom with a hammer and flattening it back out, I just play with it because I think it's funny. So that's funny, right? So Melissa said, I dreamt about Atlantis years ago. White buildings, blue water. You might want to look into that dream and see what that was about, right? Yeah, you might want to look into that. So, okay, let's continue here. So you have, right, one infinity is greater than all. Light there was in the ancient Atlantis, yet darkness too was hidden in all. Fell from the light into the darkness some who had risen to heights among men. Proud they became because of their knowledge. Proud were they of their place among men. Service to self, people self-serving. And then they're going to be stuck in third dimension, right? Descents below must have balance, else he is bound by lack of our light. Okay, so if you are self-serving, you will be stuck in 3D and you will not be able to ascend into the light. So here we have the same knowledge that is being taught to you from around the world, from every spiritual and philosophical thought process. So either they all borrowed it from each other and let's run down that third dimensional trek, or we could pay attention to the actual message that everyone throughout time has been trying to tell us. What is the secret to the universe? Right here. How you get out of this place and stop being stuck here, how you graduate from this college is through wisdom. And through wisdom is illumination, and illumination is fire, illumination is light. So you illuminate yourself, you gain wisdom if you are in service to others, and then you can graduate. If you're in service to self, you don't care about that. You don't believe in that. And all you want is money, power, fame, clicks, and likes. That's all you're interested in. You're interested in conquest, becoming the emperor of something, becoming the total in control king or queen of the universe. That's all you want, because you want to leave a legacy for your family, to make sure that your family in the physical plane is in charge of everything. And if you're on this earth and you want to get off of this earth, you need to listen to what these people are telling you instead of chasing your tail, trying to find the oldest scroll, and read the ones that are actually here. And you'll find that if you do, you'll find that they are all telling you the same thing. And the secret is how to get out of here. Let's continue.
Opened by their knowledge, pathways forbidden to man. But in his temple, all-seeing, the dweller lay in his Agwanti, while through Atlantis his soul roamed free. Saw he the Atlanteans, by their magic, opening the gateway that would bring to earth a great woe. Fast fled his soul, then, back to his body. Up he rose from his Agwanti. Called he the three mighty messengers, gave the commands that shattered the world. Deep neath earth's crust to the halls of Umti, swiftly descended the dweller. Called he then on the powers the seven lords wielded, changed the earth's balance. Down sank Atlantis beneath the dark waves, shattered the gateway that had been opened, shattered the doorway that led down below. All of the islands were shattered except Unal, and part of the island of the sons of the dweller. Preserved he them to be the teachers, lights on the path for those to come after, lights for the lesser children of men. Called he then, I, Thoth, before him, gave me commands for all I should do, saying, Take thou, O Thoth, all of your wisdom. Take all your records, take all your magic. Go thou forth as a teacher of men. Go thou forth serving the records until in time light grows among men. Light shalt thou be all through the ages, hidden yet found by enlightened men. Over all earth give we ye power, free thou to give or take it away. Gather thou now the sons of Atlantis, take them and flee to the people of the rock caves, fly to the land of the children of Chem. Then gathered I the sons of Atlantis. Into the spaceship I brought all my records, brought the records of sunken Atlantis. Gathered I all of my powers, instruments, many of mighty magic. Up then we rose on wings of the morning, high we arose above the temple, leaving behind the three and dweller. Deep in the halls neath the temple, closing the pathway to the lords of the cycles. Yet ever to him who has knowing, open shall be the path to Amenti.
Okay, so here again, we're going to talk about the lords of the cycles. We're going into the seven, key of the seven chakras once again. Okay, this is the knowledge. So Thoth was called forth by God to then go and talk to the children of Chem. Chem is Egypt. Okay, so the children of Egypt. So he went into Egypt to deliver this message. So this is where we traced back the scrolls, like even from the Mesopotamian scroll, they said that it was 11,000 years or 1,100 years older, and it came from the Arcadians. Okay, so that knowledge at the time came from Arcadia. At that time that they're talking about was the time of Hermes Trismegistus. Some people say he was Greek, others say he was actually an Egyptian. So either way, it seems that Hermes had traveled to Egypt and was a chronicler of this information. The only reason that we have this information, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, is because they were found in 1929 between the feet of the statue of Hermes in that Mesopotamia area in Arcadia, okay, which was a province or a country that bordered Mesopotamia that was a Greek outpost, a Greek country, Greek occupied. So Hermes' statue was there, and in 1929, in between the feet of the Hermes, buried in the ground, they found the emerald tablets of Thoth. Hermes had talked about Thoth. Hermes had talked about the same wisdom when Hermes was talking to God, the same wisdom. So they found these, and when they looked at that, they said, where do these come from? Hermes claimed that he got knowledge from the Egyptians. He might have actually been Egyptian, not Greek. So when they went to Egypt and talked to the Egyptians about this, they said this knowledge was from Atlantis, from a society that was far older than they were, far older than the pre-dynastic kings. So we're looking at 77 to 123,000 years ago. So here we have Thoth saying in the scrolls that that Thoth was called by God, and of course, got into the spaceship. So that scares everybody. It must have been a person in 3D that came down here. That word, I'm not going to get into the translation of that word into English that we're seeing that is spaceship, because that's actually a wrong translation, but I'm not going to get involved in that. Let's just leave it at 3D. And Thoth got in a spaceship because God told him to get into a spacecraft and came down to Earth to deliver this message. So this is where you're going to see that they're going to use that word from a spaceship and Thoth coming down here from the Emerald Tablets to say that Thoth was in fact an Anunnaki. They haven't said that yet, but that's my prediction. My prediction is that soon the world is going to have to say that Thoth was in fact an Anunnaki, not an Atlantean, and that he lied about the whole Atlantis thing. And then they're going to just go, no, wait, all the people that live in Atlantis were in fact Anunnaki. So now you're going to see that Atlantis and High Brazil become the Anunnaki, and the Anunnaki created everything. And that's how they're going to try and tie it in. And they'll say right here, he said the spaceborn came from outer space, which means that it was a race of people that Thoth got into a ship, and it wasn't a god. It was actually just some dude who said, go to Earth. So some dude said, take these papers and fly the ship and go down to Earth and give them this information. So again, they're going to try and tie that in and say Illuminati. Wait, no, they're going to say Anunnaki. So nowhere in any of this is the word Anunnaki or a reference to that, but somehow they're going to try and tie it in because of the spaceborn, the spaceship coming down, Thoth, Atlantis, Anunnaki. Watch how they're already starting to do that. My prediction for 2026 is by this time in 2026, going into 2027, Thoth will no longer be an Atlantean. Even though he says he's an Atlantean, all the Atlantis people will now be the Anunnaki, if they're not already doing it. That's my prediction. But let's get back to reality. So getting back to reality, you have Thoth being told by God to come down to Earth and deliver this information. And this information is the information on how to ascend to God. And that information has to do with balancing your chakras. So here we are, of the cycles, yet ever to him who has knowing, let him who hath understanding, ever to him to have knowing, open shall be the path to Amente.
Fast fled we then on the wings of the morning, fled to the land of the children of Chem. There by my power I conquered and ruled them. Raised I to light the children of Chem. Deep neath the rocks I buried my spaceship, waiting the time when man might be free. Over the spaceship erected a marker in the form of a lion, yet like unto man.
Okay, so this is where people are saying there's a spaceship under the Sphinx. Okay, but that was wrong. It wasn't a spaceship. The translation has now been retranslated, but still here it's saying spaceship. It was actually the knowledge of Amente. So it wasn't a spaceship. It was, in fact, a book of knowledge. Okay, and that's been retranslated since then. You can look that up in history right now, that it's not a spaceship at the feet of underneath the Sphinx, but there is an area that they did find that was underneath the Sphinx, and they won't tell us what was in there. Everybody believes that it was knowledge that was there. There was not a spaceship that was found down there. There was a library that was found down there that had the true origins of the earth. And of course, those people who are the controllers of the earth could not allow that information to get out to the world. So they would rather have you believe, well, yeah, maybe there was some sort of alien stuff down there. In fact, it was probably the Anunnaki, because we're descendants of the Anunnaki because we're in control, because the controllers try to say that they're actually descendants from Atlantis and the people from Atlantis. So they're already trying to have a land grab by saying they were part of Atlantis. This is why I'm telling you that they're going to say that Thoth was one of them, that they were related. And you're going to see like the King of England, who they try to say they're related to Thor, which I know for a fact that they're not, that they're related to Thor. They go to a god of thunder. They're also going to say that they're related to Thoth the Atlantean soon. This is why I say by a year from now, this is where the AI is going to take the Anunnaki, because they're going to have to encompass this religion and this scroll, because it's gaining strength in its wisdom. So they're going to have to go, no, wait, the Egyptians, the alien who built the pyramids was Thoth, and Thoth was an Atlantean, and he was, in matter of fact, Atlantean actually means Anunnakian. So they're going to try and translate it that way. Watch my prediction. Let's continue. So here is the key of the seven, and open to thee the pathway will fall.
There neath the image rests my spaceship, forth to be brought when need shall arise. Know ye, O man, that far in the future invaders shall come from out of the deep. Then awake, ye who have wisdom. Bring forth my ship and conquer with ease. Deep neath the image lie.
Yeah, Chem, Melissa, I don't know if you you might have already put that up. Chem actually was the ancient word for Egypt. So the children of Chem were the children of Egypt. That's where the scroll was originally found. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth were originally found in Egypt, and that's where where Hermes picked it up from. He got it from Egypt. Either he was Egyptian and moved to Greece, or that part of Greece that was Arcadia, or he was a Greek who visited there and found the Emerald Tablets. So they don't know if he had a copy of the Emerald Tablets and they buried them with his statue, or if somebody buried them there who found them. They believe that he secretly had the Emerald Tablets because they believe that Hermes Trismegistus, which means thrice great, three times great, they believe that he was in fact Thoth the Atlantean, who came back as Hermes, and that he literally reincarnated from Thoth, reincarnated into Hermes to deliver the same message. Do you see? So that's where the Chem is Egypt. It's the ancient word for Egypt. Okay, let's continue.
Is my secret. Search and find in the pyramid I built. Each to the other is the keystone, each the gateway that leads into life. Follow the key I leave behind me. Seek, and the doorway to life shall be thine. Seek thou in my pyramid, deep in the passage that ends in a wall.
Okay, so the the pyramid, this in the physical plane, everybody keeps looking for the secrets to the universe. If you have followed me at all when I was talking about the law of one, you realize that the pyramid was designed. I don't know if you guys are hearing this. Somebody is grinding up stuff outside next door. So I apologize. Hopefully you can hear me over the grinding that's going out about 10 feet away from the window of the bedroom that I'm sitting in the side of the office. So I apologize for that if you guys hear all of that grinding. Somebody doesn't know what they're doing over there, and they're walking around with what sounds like a weed whacker, trying to weed whack things, but they're not a professional. So they're trying to look in the physical, and they're saying, inside the pyramid that I built, seek thou in my pyramid deep in the passage that ends in a wall. Use thou the key of the seven, and open to thee the pathway will fall. What he's talking about here is not a physical thing where you're going to walk into the pyramid and you're going to find a key that you're going to be able to open up a wall or a door in the wall. Right? I apologize if all you guys can hear is this guy standing out there trying to grind off a tree stump. I apologize for that. So the key that you're going to open, here it is, the key of the seven chakras. If you go into the pyramid in the law of one, you find them talking about that as well. You go into the pyramid. The pyramid was the vibration of the pyramid in that chamber that Thoth was talking about is a place of reflection where you're supposed to sit and balance your chakras, the key of the seven, to open the pathway will fall. So you're not going to open a door, a passageway in the pyramid that's going to open magically, and you're going to walk into another room. This is a place of reflecting that you were supposed to go into and sit down. Even Ra said this in the Law of One. You were supposed to go into the pyramid and you go into that chamber and sit down in that chamber and meditate and balance your chakras. And when you're in there, the vibration, they've proven this, Robert Schoch even proved this, that the vibration in there is a certain frequency that actually activates your crown chakra. If you sit in there and you contemplate and you're alone in the darkness and you're sitting in there, you're deprived of all of reality around you, and nothing, you hear nothing, you feel nothing, you smell nothing, you taste nothing. You are in complete darkness and you are completely cut off from the world with no sound, and the vibration uplifts and activates your third eye chakra. If you're sitting there and you balance your chakras and you are meditating, open to you will be the pathway that will fall. Okay. Now unto thee I have given the wisdom. So the secret to unlocking your crown chakra, if in fact you were 10,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago, 8,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, living in Egypt, you would not have the ability, because of how low your vibration was, to unlock your crown chakra without assistance. So at that time, throughout all of time, until 40 years ago, 50 years ago, the entire human species, let me finish this right here and then I'll put myself.
Use thou the key of the seven,
okay?
And open to thee the
You
pathway
can hear
will
this
fall.
because that person is deciding.
Now unto thee I have given my wisdom. Now unto thee I have given my way.
Hopefully you can hear me.
Follow the pathway. Solve thou my secrets. Unto thee I have shown the way.
Okay, so let's pause that right there. Okay, so you were shown the way. Let me pull myself back up in the camera. So literally opposition out here trying to, hopefully you guys heard that. I'll have to go back and listen to that. So literally the way is balancing the chakras. And back then, the human race needed something to assist them to raise their vibration enough, because the vibration of the consciousness collectively of the earth was very, very low. 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago. So people were taking purple lotus, blue lotus, ayahuasca, DMT, psilocybin, so mushrooms, and peyote, THC, and high levels from marijuana. This was, why do you think they call it high? This raises your vibration, and it pulls you outside of the realm of the thinking mind and the ego, and you're more in control. They have proven that psilocybin from mushrooms and these other chemicals actually deaden the center of your brain, the portion of your brain that's right next to the lizard brain, which is the function that keeps you alive and that you live by, and that keeps your body moving and hits your adrenaline and gives you instincts, which is attached to your sacral plexus chakra, that gives you the insight into the universe in this physical place. Right above there's a center in your brain that when you do these, like you do mushrooms, the psilocybin in the mushrooms or the DMT, that gives you that euphoric effect, or in these other chemicals, deaden that center of the brain. It turns it off and your ego stops. Your ego stops thinking. Your ego stops telling you things that are scaring you, or saying, oh no, we got to do this, we have to do that, and this is that. Oh, I'm the greatest person in the world. I am the God of the universe. Your ego all of a sudden becomes almost silent. And they have found that when that happens, all the rest of the centers in your brain start communicating with itself. Your brain on all sides starts talking to itself, and that raises your vibration even more, and it expands your consciousness. And they have found that people who constantly do these doses, going all the way back in time when people are eating mushrooms, what happens is the longer that you have this chemical in your body, the more that the ego is quiet, the more that your mind expands. And then it wears off over time. But over time, if you continue to do this, it changes your perception of reality. And that's where they go, oh, it changes your perception of reality and you become cuckoo cuckoo. Well, you do, because to them, you're cuckoo cuckoo, because what happens is you start gaining in wisdom because you start raising your vibration in a permanent way, and your brain rewires itself and becomes more efficient and becomes more intelligent. Your consciousness expands and your intelligence goes up. Your IQ gets higher. And then the ego comes back on, but it's quieter and you have more control over it. Okay. So back in the day, all the way into the 1960s, 70s of the world, we humans didn't have the ability en masse to, just by using meditation or prayer, get to that point of being able to pull ourselves outside of the reach of the ego, even though we've been practicing that and we teach that now. However, now, as a species, we've evolved to the point where we can do it without the drugs. We can just sit down and teach you spirituality, or teach you prayer, or teach you meditation, and you can get to that place of meditation where you're outside the reach of your ego and your thinking mind. And then you start to realize, wait, I'm still here. I didn't cease to be when my mind got silent. What does that mean? There's the beginning of your ascension. This is exactly what Thoth is talking about. When you sit there and balance the seven, when you balance your chakras, the key, the wisdom, the knowledge will unlock for you. That's the doors will unlock to you. When the doors unlock to you, then you become more illuminated. And that is a permanent upgrade. Once you start to learn that wisdom, you pull back the veil, you start seeing beyond the veil. And this is an illumination. Okay. So this is what he's talking about. Not a physical thing that you're going to go in there and say some words, abracadabra, hocus pocus, whatever, open the open sesame, and a door is going to open and you're going to find a room where there's money in it and there's gold in it, because that's what humans will think. And that's what they did. They went to the Sphinx and looked for a spaceship, and they went inside there and went, let's check the walls. There's got to be a door in here somewhere that's going to open to a new chamber, and there's going to be something in there, because they were a linear physical minded living in the flesh, and they're trying to find this physical, whatever they're looking for, land of milk and honey, gold, silver, whatever they're trying to look for, wealth, instead of knowledge. And that knowledge is what he was showing you. Okay, so let me put up on the screen the commercials once again for what's going on tomorrow. Brooke and I will be, let me put up the address again. Brooke and I will be at the Mystic Moon Market this Sunday. Let me put my glasses on so I can read it to you. This Sunday, the 21st of September, at Central Coast Leagues Club. That is at 1 Dane, D-A-N-E Drive in Gosford. 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. We will have a table there. We'll have a booth there where we're going to be doing Reiki. Brooke is going to be Reikiing people, and I will be answering questions. I will also be bringing my books, which you can see right there on the back behind me. I will be bringing the books, the last of the which ones that I actually have in my possession for sale. I have 5 hardcovers and 9 soft covers. And I only have 9. I had 10, but I already have an order for 1. And if you come to that Mystic Moon Market and buy a book from me, the hardcovers will be $60, and that will include my signature, and I'll sign the book in any way that you want me to sign the book, to say your name in there and say what you want me to say in there, or just sign it for you. If you buy the book online right now, it'll cost you $80 plus shipping. So if you show up at the Mystic Moon Market and buy the book, it'll only be $60, and that will include getting my signature on it. If you buy the book, you'll get it for $80 online, and you won't have my signature on it, and you'll have to find me somewhere at a book signing. If you buy the soft cover book, it'll be $40, and that includes my signature. And like I said, we have limited amounts of those. When they're gone until I get some more shipped to me. Otherwise, you have to buy them online. Okay. And normally, if you bought the soft cover online, it would be $30 plus shipping and handling to have it shipped to you. So you can come there. You can also ask me questions, or at noon, I believe that's what the schedule is right now, 12 noon, I will be in the little center stage area. I don't know where it is there, but it'll be set up. We're going to be setting it up. It's going to be an area there, and I will be doing a Q&A, and we will hopefully be able to go live if we have the signal on Wi-Fi. We will go live on air on YouTube and Facebook for all of you guys to watch that, and we will be taking questions. I will be channeling Thoth the Atlantean. and I will be answering questions about spirituality, about anything that you want me to answer questions about for 1 hour. So we will have at our booth, we will have places where you can write down questions and put them into a jar with your name on it and your question. We will be taking those questions. If you're there live in chairs and ask questions, then you can let us know, I had a question in there, this is my question. We'll find that question and we won't answer it twice. And then if you are live on air, Brooke will be watching in the chat, and she will then ask the questions that you guys have to me, and I will answer you guys on camera from there, live from the Central Coast League's club. So if you guys want to see that, tune in tomorrow, and that will be at noon New South Wales time, which will be, let's see if it's, what time is it again? It's 3 o'clock is 8, so 4 hours. So it'll be 7 p.m. West Coast America time. That's 10 p.m. East Coast America time. If you're in the United States, that will be, so if it's 7 p.m., it'll be 11 or 12 p.m. In the UK. So wherever you are around the world, you guys can tune in if you want to see me. Otherwise, if we don't have a signal, we will broadcast it right after we're done with that. We'll put it on the air for you guys to hear and to see. So come on out, and like I said, well, I'll be having my book there. Let me do a commercial for my book before we go. So if you're wondering what is my book about, because over here you can only see this little book in the background, you can't tell what it is. Let me show you what my book is. It is called The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways.
What is the reality about reality? Returning to the old ways. It is a comprehensive book about what is really going on here on this planet. It talks about the true spirituality that the controllers who think they own this planet have been keeping from you for thousands of years. It explains to you the knowledge that you gain from the universe itself when you live the way the prophets of the world throughout time told us how to live. Eat right, meditate, take care of yourself, treat others right. All the things they originally told us to do, but the controllers have removed from right in front of our eyes. The way to ascend to heaven. The reality about reality. Returning to the old ways. On sale worldwide online now.
Okay, so let me pull down this banner right here as my wife is sneaking out the door. She was coming in to show the jar. We have a big jar. Let me pull it down the banner so you can see my face here. We have a big glass jar that has Merlin and Maeve written on it. So you can see, I put that back up over there, Merlin and Maeve. We will have that at our table, and we'll have a little notepad, one of those little notepads that you can write on and tear off, and you can put the questions in there. We're going to try and put those around the event in different places for people to be able to write down questions and put them in there, and we will compile all of those together when I go live at the noon, and then we'll try to get through everybody's questions and see how far we get with all the questions. And if not, and you're live from around the world, you guys can also tune in, and Brooke will be monitoring the chat to be able to get those questions to me. All right, guys, I love you guys. Come on out tomorrow over, if you're in New South Wales, anywhere in New South Wales, come on up to that market. Let me put that up on the screen one more time so you can see the address. Mystic Moon Market this Sunday, 21st of September, Central Coast League's Club at 1 Dane Drive in Gosford, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. I don't know how many booths are going to be there, but there are tables set up, and I've seen some of them, and the stuff that they have is incredible. The candles and the just the things that you can buy. There's soaps, and there's wands, and there's just tinctures, and just, I think there's even some food. Don't quote me on that, but I'm sure there's going to be food. I think there was. I should have probably had my wife tell you, because she was at the last one, so she has an idea of all the stuff. But if you go on my page on Facebook or Brooke's page on Facebook, you can see that we have the ads there and the links that will take you to the different images on the different websites that show you all of the images of these booths that are going to be there and the people that are going to be there tomorrow from 10 until 5 p.m. It's a really good event. I didn't get to go to the last one because it was just when I before I got here. As a matter of fact, I was still in the United States, so I didn't get to go to the last one. So I'm going to be at this one because I am now in New South Wales in Australia. So if you're in Australia and you're in New South Wales, come on out to that market tomorrow, because if you're interested in anything holistic, anything that is pagan, Wiccan, Druid, in nature or just holistic in nature. There's candles, there's incense, there's all kinds of stuff, jewelry, all kinds of stuff. There are different booths from really talented people. I'm probably going to end up spending more money than I want to, and my wife and I are probably going to end up losing money on the deal because we won't make enough money, because we'll probably end up buying a bunch of stuff and spending a bunch of money at the place. I'm already planning on it, right? So I love you guys. Come on out tomorrow and take a look. I'll be there. I'll be live. Otherwise, tune in on Facebook or YouTube, and I'll be live at noon for at least the hour that I have there, and I'll try to answer all the questions that I can. I will be channeling Thoth the Atlantean at the time. All right, guys, I love you. Have a great day. If I don't see you tomorrow, I'll see you on Wednesday. That'll be Thursday, or that'll be Tuesday in the United States. I'll be back live again doing the Q&A once again, because I'm going to start doing that live every week. And if I don't see you there, I'll see you back here next Friday or Saturday if you're in Australia for the Orion Rising, and continuing with more of Thoth the Atlantean until we finish the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. All right, so I love you guys. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. I hope to see you either live or at the market or back in live next week or whenever, or in a chat somewhere. You guys, I love you guys. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good morrow, depending on where in the world you are tuning into the show.